And yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see season three. Now, I don't know what can I expect, but I don't know. It's gonna be a lot of different things. But what are you expecting for season three now?
I know that there's going to be multiple storylines or multiple villains that are going to be in season three, which um, it makes me also think that because there was one rumor that I remember that they were talking about, and this just recently was addressed, that if you haven't seen it, where they were talking about how for before the creative revamped version of Daredevil Born Again for season one, they were trying to get Tom Hiddleston to direct an episode of Daredevil Born Again. And I'm thinking, I think that maybe they should bring him to direct at least one episode of season three if they haven't filmed everything yet. I think that whatever he wanted to do, he can be able to bring it again. And in my opinion, that also could tie into so many different things that it doesn't even have to be Thor related. It doesn't even have to be Loki related. I would say like anything that we could bring the hand back. I mean, if they're going to be bringing the hand from Spider into Spider-Man Brand New Day, I think it would be a great way to reintroduce and re-debut the hand into the series side of the MCU. I think that Heather as Muse is going to be going. I have a feeling she's going to be playing an interesting part into season three. There's a lot of things that I feel like she's going to now want to do at this point, because at this point she has lost it. She has completely lost it to the point that she is now at the verge that she is now becoming what she hated the most. And I think that that's such a interesting poetic thing that, like, in my opinion, in going back to the Raimi trilogy for Spider-Man, it's kind of like how it was for Harry Osborn when he hated the fact that when he found out later on in life that Norman created the Green Goblin out of the serum and out of the experimentation that he involved himself in, and that he died doing so. Harry ended up becoming what like another product of what his dad created and what he hated, and that was like a small villain arc to his character. So with Heather becoming the next Muse, it's like a Freddy Krueger Friday the 13th type deal, where it's like the mask and the identity gets passed down to the next person who basically goes and gets themselves involved into this. And that's one of the scariest things out of it because of how realistic that approach is. I would say that if they wanted to bring in villains kind of like Tombstone and other different characters we're getting a Spider-Man Brand New Day, that'd be amazing. I would see that that's highly unlikely, but I would love to see if like the hand will get brought back, or like we get brought back to like characters like Mrs. Gao or Nobu or different characters like them in some capacity, because I feel like,
Or like Elektra.
yeah, and I feel like
Or Elektra.
Elektra would be a great candidate to be brought back if she is being brought back, which I hope that she does. Um, it's something that I think that I don't know much about. Different. I don't know much about the like the Daredevil comics or any of the Defenders comics, but like they might even take Daredevil Born Again season 3 and turn it into like Defenders season 2 of some point. I mean, if Mike Coulter and Finn Jones and Kristen Ritter are going to be in it, then I would love for them to be trying to. I would love to feel like their storyline is going to be like, Matt's in jail, but they are going to get him out. They are going to have to try to convince him to be brought back into the public somehow, and they're going to make him be Daredevil again in some capacity. And it reminds me, and I know I keep going on tangent off a tangent off a tangent, but there's a storyline in X-Men the Animated Series where they do something similar to that. And there's, if I remember correctly, it was the pilot episode. It was a two-parter where they were basically going to break Magneto out of prison, but Beast ends up getting caught, but he ends up going to jail. He ends up getting trialed. He ends up getting sentenced. But instead of him, when he is, I guess, he's about to get broken out by Magneto himself for a certain mission. I believe that he goes and he says, I'm going to let the justice system go and do the process for me, and I'm not willing to participate in trying to break out myself, even though that I know that it's wrong. And I have a feeling that because that Matt's a lawyer, and or possibly his license has been revoked, but lawyer at heart, he's going to take that same approach. And if anything, that's going to take a lot of convincing from the defenders to do so. And that opens up a lot of brand new doors because I mean, we could probably see Colleen Wig back. We could probably see Claire back. We could probably see, like we said, Elektra back, and other different characters that we never even thought of. Um, it's just going to be an interesting idea on where this is headed. But it's just when you don't know the characters of the comics that much, it makes it a little bit more tough to pinpoint who are they going to bring back, what kind of ideas are they going to do, especially it is multiple villains. So that's one thing that I feel like it's going to really tip the scales for people on if they're going to succeed with season 3 or not, which I hope that they do. But it leads me to a question that like I mentioned before, that I believe that this is the moment where Matt announces that he is Daredevil. Now, like I mentioned, this is something in line with Tony Stark revealing that he's Iron Man all the way back in the first Iron Man movie. Now, do you feel do you feel like people are not going to take this lightly in terms of like, oh, so they're trying to bring back the great moments of the MCU? Like, was this justified in the sense of like of Matt claiming that he is Daredevil in order for him to not to take down Fisk? Like, do you feel like this was like in the same route that Tony Stark took in order to defend Stark Industries? Like in this same way of like fighting for what they believed in.
Yeah, I don't know about like in the same way like Tony Stark kind of did. I mean, I feel like Daredevil's felt. I'd say Daredevil's had more weight to it. It's crazy to say. I mean, obviously Iron Man was the one who started all of this. Robert Downey Jr. started all of this,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like we've seen Daredevil with his secret identity for the longest time. So the fact that he voluntarily did this himself,
Mm-hmm.
not to just only take down his greatest enemy,
Mm-hmm.
and to tarnish his entire not just his reputation's always been tarnished, but tarnish his entire credibility, not just to the people but to the state and to the rest of the government and law enforcement. Now that is, you know, fully. I feel like a lot more substantial for sure, especially with how especially with how it's Matt's one little thing that he has left for he literally has to go back. There's nothing left for him. Like he lost his law. I guess he's gonna lose his law degree because at the end of the day, he's what he's gonna do? Practice law in jail. You know what I'm saying so. It's gonna be very interesting. And yeah, it's just it. I feel like yeah, There's a similar way to it. I'll agree with you with Tony Stark, but I feel like it works really well here with Matt, and I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed how they handled that, and it feels like a new beginning for both of these characters. And for Matt, he finally gets to start something away from the scene now. Of course, he's not free, but he is alive, and he gets to experience what it's like to put away criminals and to be a criminal, technically speaking. So that's crazy work. It's crazy work for sure. I'm curious because I'm seeing like I want to say I would say I'll say this. How would you now seeing all seasons of Daredevil so far, including the Netflix season? How would you rank this season amongst the five seasons that have released for Charlie Cox's Daredevil?
Ooh. Oh wow. That is that is honestly going to be a very tough one to choose. Just because that I feel like in so many ways I think that it's impossible for me to rank them, but I feel like season 1 for me of the original Netflix series remains as a special thing for me because I did see it once all the way, and then going into the rest of the Defenders shows was starting to become a journey, and then I had known nothing about it. I was just going in blind. My mom and I were watching them, the rest of that blind, while I already watched the first season of Daredevil, and I just feel like there were a lot of great things that came out of every single season. I would honestly, I would put Daredevil Born Again season one probably last in my opinion, and not because it's a terrible thing. I honestly feel like they were doing so many great things with it, but they were trying to find their footing after. I remember that when Disney Plus was announced, they were going to be making it more family friendly. They were not going to do anything R rated at the moment. And then now we're at this point where, R rated content and TVMA rated content is now on Disney Plus, and it's now not something new anymore. And, they're trying to reach to all audiences besides families and children. And now we're reaching to adults. So it took like a big step forward. I would say Daredevil Born Again season one is last. I would say season one of the original Netflix version is in fourth place. Now, for me, the only reason why I would put it at that point is because it's a moment where you're starting to see Matt become Daredevil, and
Mhm,
it's such an amazing, arc. It's an amazing build up to
mhm,
where he becomes Daredevil. And I love it for that reason because that it is his journey. It is him that, he that he reveals his identity to Foggy, and that he reveals his identity to Claire, and that, this is the beginning between him and Kingpin. This is like the beginning of everything starting to go down. And it's such a great buildup, but I feel like when it
mhm,
comes to the next one, I would say season two of Daredevil is going to be my third favorite. Now, um,
mhm,
I definitely feel actually no. Yes, no. Yeah, it'll be third. Now, I give it way more
mhm.
credit, especially with John Bernthal's Punisher. He's a great addition to the cast. He's a great addition to the story,
Right.
and it elevates it so much. But I feel like, it just kind of feels like the first season to a degree. With Elektra being added into the mix as well, it also adds that good blend that helps direct Matt's story and the rest of the other Defender stories to the
Mhm,
Defenders spinoff, which to me just really says a lot about the show. It says a lot about the story and the characters, and we got great moments out of there, and everybody's just loving who Matt's becoming, and which leads to
mhm.
the second place being Daredevil season three. Now, Daredevil season three was
Wait,
a major step up.
oh, wait. So wait. So you're saying season three is under is wait. You're saying this season's over season three,
I'm gonna be
season
saying
two, or
I'm
they're
gonna
not
have
season.
a for a hot take. Yes, for a hot take. Yes.
Oh,
So
wait. That took me for a spin. That took me for a spin. Wait for a second. I need to hear you out. Let me hear. Let me hear it.
I honestly, to me, I love Wilson Bethel's performance as Bullseye. And I love the duality that he has in that series or that season as both like as this nice guy turned psychopath
Mhm,
that he's not great aim, but the trauma is what really hits him. I feel like with that one, it would have been number one, but the way how
mhm,
Born Again season two ended, it hits me more at a human level. Especially, I'm gonna be honest, I've been stressed out like crazy with the way how politics has been, with the way how society has been, and I feel like as much as I would love to give Born Again season 2 to be number 2, I just feel like it's number 1 because that with season 3 of the Netflix one, it gives a good story based off of not just, like Daredevil, like he's now finding his equal
mhm,
to a degree. And I feel like not only is like there's yin and yang between Daredevil and Kingpin, but I feel like with Bullseye, it is such a great match. Like he is a great equal to Daredevil and to Matt as not just in skill, but also in just in physical skill, but also mental skills. And there's something that's very
mhm,
appreciative out of both characters, regardless on whose side that you're rooting for. And the story that progresses with Foggy and with Karen, adding more now that both of them at this point, they both know him as Daredevil. They both know him to, be putting himself in harm's way, but also they're still a little mad at him because of after the events of the Defender series that he's been in hiding for a little while, and there's so much happening. But the build up, I feel like to me it's like it's a grand build up, but taking the 13 episodes to do so, it, it's it's a great approach, but to me it's just like I just feel like the relevancy out of this one is great, but it's just Born Again season 2 hits me a lot more as somebody who has been
Mhm.
majorly been worrying about what's been going on, what's been happening in the world and lately, and is a reason why that I make content for everybody. And it just
Mhm.
gives me more of an insight on how to make content, not just for everybody, but for me to be enjoying it more and editing it more and having that drive. And I've been in such like a mental slump that I feel like
Mhm.
season 2 help like regain that excitement and hunger on wanting to create something that's relevant, that it reflects real life, but it doesn't make me fear as much anymore. And honestly, I thank God, that these creators and writers they made something that made me feel at ease a little bit more. And I see on the news every day, and I'm so sick and tired of hearing, who said this, who said that, and all this whatever, and it
Yeah.
just makes me upset and it makes me feel like I'm failing as a content creator. But when I was watching this season, it gave me a little bit of hope, and it gave me a little bit of a reassurance saying there everybody's going through this. It is not just you, but that's okay because we're all in the same boat. We're all going to lift each other up. We're all going to be standing together. We're all going to be falling together because that's the sense of community. And I needed that little push. So it's more just like of an emotional and personal level for me. In terms of action, I mean, every season is equally as amazing as the other. But to me, it's just that little sensitivity that I have, and especially um there's times where I don't get sleep at night because I'm still dealing with grief. This season also helped with that. It made me understand a little bit better that it's fine. It's fine to feel the way that you feel. And it's fine that you don't rush it. It's fine that a lot of things are not going to come as quickly. So there's been so many emotional things that came out of Born Again season 2 that hit me more than the Netflix ones, and that's just more on a personal level. I know I kept rambling on and on about that, but
Mhm.
I mean, you guys could criticize my hot take as much as you guys want, but this was something
Mhm.
that spoke to me a lot more than I was anticipating for it to.
Of course. No, no, no. I feel like you're entitled to that opinion, and frankly, it's a very interesting opinion that could really cause for a lot of discussions. And that's the one I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. We go. I'm like, wait, I'm like, I had to check back with you for a sec. I mean, but because I don't believe any ranking is objective. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
hey, who are we? Who are we to say? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I have Spider-Man 2 as my favorite film of all time. That doesn't crack the top 10 for many people. So
Hmm.
Spider-Man 2 is my favorite film of all time. So be it, right? I think as long as it's yours and it's you and your honest truth, then yeah, go for it.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, I have to completely disagree, but that's the nature of
Nah, you're
that's the
good.
nature
I,
of
I mean,
these
I,
things.
I'm interested
Yeah.
on seeing how you rank them. I mean, like, I would love to get to see how you would take it with both the Netflix and the Disney Plus series.
Okay, let's see here. So last, I think we're both in agreement. Born Again season one's last. It's just an awkward reintroduction
Hmm.
to the show. It's not. I don't think it's dog. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I don't think it's the best thing in the world, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And it's just
Hmm.
kind of it's a really conflicting continuation because it isn't doesn't feel like the natural. It doesn't feel like a natural a natural introduction because at the end of the day, it wasn't meant to be. It was originally supposed to be a reboot, and now it's back to a sequel continuation, and frankly, it doesn't work that way because it shouldn't work that way, right? So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a Frankenstein's mess. I would still give that like a 7 out of 10. Still solid time. I think I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, and I probably would watch some. I would rewatch some scenes still here and there because I like those scenes still. You know, I, and then that's five. The fourth is actually, I think it might be season two of, I don't know. I might put season two of um the original series, but I don't think it's that bad because I feel like there's a big gap between um from Born Again season one um to Daredevil season two, and I think Daredevil season two is an 8 out of 10. I think that's still really season television. Punisher is fantastic. Elektra, love my mommy Elektra. Come back a load young, please, please. But yeah, that's one. I think I would give that one an 8 out of 10. Solid time, great action still. There's some things that don't age that well, and and the hand isn't that fun to me still. I love Elektra. I don't like the hand. So that's the thing. But everything with Punisher is still pretty good. And that rooftop scene with John Bernthal and Charlie Cox is still A1. One of the best scenes in the MCU, one of the best scenes in Daredevil, and frankly, one of the best scenes in comic book history. That's a great scene, rooftop. I love that. But I think with Daredevil Born Again season one, that one had a lot of great moments. I feel the same way with season two of Daredevil because it had a lot of great moments, a lot of great spectacle, but also, I feel like there's some moments that kind of stalled a little. Like that's one show that I think it didn't need 13. Probably 10 is a fair number for that one. I think the pacing was a little off there.
Mhm.
But then after that, I think it's Daredevil Born Again season two. That what goes above, but I think it's kind of tied with the original series in terms of season two because I do think it's an improvement, a massive improvement over season one of Born Again. But I think there's some things that are still hit or miss for me. It just doesn't feel like there's some things that, like, if you were to introduce these characters again, like, it feels like, yeah, these characters feel like more like cameos to reintroduce them back into the MCU, which is great. Like Jessica Jones, like what's it called? Like frick, what's his name? What's his name? The officer. Oh my gosh, Brett Mahoney, Brett
Yeah.
Mahoney. Yeah, yeah. Him too. He just didn't feel like he was necessary sometimes. He was there for like 2 episodes and that's it. Um, and it did like there's certain things I'm like, okay, maybe that needed fleshing out more. I do think this season, oddly enough, it feels like the season is either too short, but also needed some fleshing out. So yeah, I think this one kind of warranted 10 episodes or something like that. I think this is the one where I'm like, it probably needed a little more.
Hmm.
I really like it, and I really appreciate what they've done here. It's great craftsmanship, and I enjoyed it a lot. Now, there's some times where it really depends on my day, like whether or not I'm gonna take season two of Born Again over season two of the Netflix show. It'll waver for me because they're both an 8 out of 10, solid time for me. So that's where it is for that. And then the top three or top two? Top two is looking is Daredevil season one. Still I think one of the best seasons of
Hmm.
superhero television. Has a great introduction, has a great conclusion, has a great middle. I think the pacing, like, of course Netflix's pacing, it does waver, it does get a little long, and the 13 episodes, it does kind of drag around the end, but it still is effective, and it's still timeless. That's the thing. It's such a timeless show. This season specifically could work, and I can watch it anytime, frankly, because it works from beginning to end, and I get a lot of catharsis from it, and it's a great Fisk arc and everything. It's just a fantastic season of television. That's a 9 out of 10, almost 9.5 out of 10. I'd give it so close, but I generally think season three of the original Daredevil show is possibly the best. It's not just the best superhero, not just the best Daredevil season, but one of the best, if not the best, superhero television season of all time. I think that's where I really stand on it. It's perfection. It's genuinely a masterpiece from beginning to end, and it just works so well. There's so much catharsis with that one, and I think it really makes do with each episode. 13 episodes. It's hard to fill up every piece of story, and they do it so well here, and I love it. It has my favorite original character of all time, Agent Ray Nadeem. Love the boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of different things, and it introduced my favorite villain in the MCU, which is Daredevil. Oh, not Daredevil. It's Bullseye. I love Dex. I really do, and this is the season that made me love Dex even more. And yeah, this is just it's really great stuff, and that one's generally a 10 out of 10. There's no way to put it. It's generally a perfect season of TV that I'm like, man, this is what Born Again is coming up after. It's a continuation of this season, and I don't think it's fair for Born Again to do that, especially after all the mess they've been with. Of course, it's not going to be fair. So, yeah, it's a really, it's just, I'm speechless talking about that show, frankly. But yeah, this is my thoughts. It's gonna go from Born Again season one. It'll flip flop from Daredevil season two or Born Again season two. That. But then the top two are gonna be season one of Daredevil and season three of Daredevil. That's my thoughts. That's my opinions. What do y'all think of the comments, frankly? Because I was rambling my ass off there for the past couple minutes. So yeah, that was just a bit much. But yeah, I think. What do you think? Because I know I've been seeing people on the comments, like they were talking about like how like I know some friends who are not a big fan of this season of Daredevil, season two of Born Again. What would you not? Oh, I don't know. What would you tell them? Because I mean, at the end of the day, you won't change their mind. You can't
Right.
change their mind. But
Yeah.
what would you? How would you? How would you? I guess. Like, how would you be able to understand them? Like, okay, I understand where you're coming from in this situation. I know because coming from you, where you love this season so much.
I mean, I would understand that people they don't want to see much of like if it's for the realism that they have in this series or that they say it's way too political, it feels too much like real life. I can understand from that point of view because that we're here to watch a series that it's not supposed to reflect real life. It's supposed to be an escape from it. It's supposed to have some things, but not a complete thing. If it's for that, then I
Mhm,
totally understand them because it's something else. Like it shouldn't feel like reality is
mhm,
reflective. Art is reflecting reality. If it's based off of
mhm,
that, they feel like the Netflix series is better because that they originally loved Daredevil from the Netflix series, and they feel like maybe they
mhm,
are not liking Disney at the moment. I understand that too. It's like like you grew up with something, and then you feel like another version of it's out, and you see that these characters are back and they're still being played by the same actors, but you just feel like there's something missing, like they're not crossing over the line because of something else. Like like you want to feel like that same vibe, but because you're not bringing the same creative team from the original series, you're not feeling that same atmosphere, you're not feeling that same storyline environment. You want to feel something like familiar, and that's understandable. Like we're all adjusted and accustomed to something that we're familiar with. If it's just because you don't like it because you don't like it, I mean, it's understandable too because I mean, look, you got your own opinions, you have your type of action, you have a type of show that you want to watch. Understandable. It's not something too crazy. I think that there's a lot of different legitimate reasons. If you don't like the series because of like something like that has to do with something about racism or sexism or xenophobia or something like that, okay, then I find that ridiculous. But if it's like a
mhm,
legitimate reason, like in based on those, or maybe something that I didn't think of, understandable. Everybody's gonna have their opinions. I know that some people are gonna be thinking about my ranking, saying, "Are you kidding me? Like that's your ranking?" Or they might even think the same thing about your ranking, or maybe they might think the same thing as us. It doesn't matter. I think that I think that in the end, the show was made for us as the fans. The show was made for those who love, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio as Daredevil and Kingpin. This is a show that, the fans that grew up watching the Netflix series, they said bring Daredevil back. and I 100% agreed with them as soon as I started watching them with my mom, even though they already announced Daredevil was coming back. And this was one of the most incredible experiences. And the fact that now I understand where you guys who have, that you guys watched Daredevil since the beginning of like the Netflix era in 2015 or 2016. I understand you guys 100%. And it was one of the most amazing experiences to watch Daredevil Born Again week after week after week. And it's something that I definitely understand a lot more now as an adult compared to that I was 15 at the time when the original Netflix series came out. So it was one of those things where I'm like I didn't understand it, but now I do. Um but I then you know what, I'm gonna ask the same thing. Like, how would you like address it as well? Like, how would you like address that same thing?
Of course. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, frankly, I mean, hey, you don't like the show? I mean, my bad, man. I didn't make it. You know what I mean? What you talking about? But yeah, I think it's. I mean, there's a couple of things. I feel like there's yes, of course, I completely understand it's not gonna be perfect, and frankly, I can understand the flaws because I mean, I don't think it's a perfect show. I don't even think it's a
Mhm.
perfect season. I don't even think it's my top three favorite seasons. No, that's a lie. It might be my top three. We'll see. But it's but I can understand it because at the end of the day, like the show was originally supposed to be a reboot, and it turns out to be a sequel series to the original show, but it doesn't feel like a sequel series, right? Because of Born Again season one, and then that bleeds into this season, and you can tell, right, by the first half of season two, right, and then kind of just you have to really close things out, but also connect it back to the Netflix stuff, while also connecting it back to the MCU as well. So it's just a bunch of different things going on at once that I could feel like, yes, it's overwhelming. Yes, it could be a little cluttered. And yeah, I do think there's stronger moments than others, and the consistency can kind of waver here and there. But I think it's still a good time, and I think it still has a lot of soul that it still can portrays not just from the creatives, but by the actors. Still, they're trying to have you seen Vincent and Charlie pour their heart out? They're literally pouring their heart out on
Mhm.
that screen, man. There's no other way to put it, man. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it's a flaw. It could be quote unquote flawed. Yeah, I think it's flawed, 100%. But I wouldn't say it's soulless at all. And I think
Mhm.
that's one thing I'll fight back against if anyone ever says it's soulless. I don't think it is a soulless revival because you can tell when something's soulless. It feels like it's a cash into the check in. I feel like these people generally care, and based on the craft and based on the product, it doesn't look like it doesn't feel soulless to me. So yeah, that's just my take on that. And frankly, yeah, at the end of the day, people are not gonna be not everyone's gonna be pleased.
Mhm.
And that's fine. Frankly, if as long as you enjoyed it, right, and no one else is hindering your enjoyment for it, so be it. It's fine. And yeah, that's why I'm like, you know, polarizing opinions at the end of the day kind of like they wavered off me after a while because at the end of the day, what are we supposed to do when someone else has a different opinion than us? Cry? I mean, well, they watched the same show we did, so
Mhm.
yeah, it's gonna make for a very fun video to really brainstorm because I know for a fact I'm gonna make a I think I'm gonna make a Daredevil review video, but I'm gonna make it with a guy who seems like he hates the season. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna be fun, because I don't hate this season. Now I don't think it's perfect, like I said, but I don't
Right.
hate it. But I don't think this guy loves it that much either. So it's gonna be a very interesting perspective to learn from, you know. And
Yeah.
there's no shade to that guy. The guy's actually probably gonna watch this video right now. Shout out Ocean, my boy. We done a collab before, so big shout out to him. We're gonna do another one, and it's gonna be a very interesting one for sure. He's gonna be so happy to see this show. He's gonna be delighted, delighted. But yeah, I think that's it for me at least. That's all my thoughts right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the same thing for me. I think that, there's so much that is that it's not a perfect season. I'll admit that. Like, even though that I'm rating it at the top right now. That's definitely going to change when
Mhm.
season 3 hits, and then, maybe I'll go and revisit the Netflix series again, and it's going to probably change again. And I'm okay with that. I think that there were some pieces in Born Again season 2 that they were a little bit too rushed, or they were a little bit underwhelming. Like, I feel like Jessica's presence should have been there a little bit more instead of just so late into season 2. And we should have had added a little bit more if that's what they were trying to set up. And I am happy that they used her well in the season finale. That I am happy about. And then getting introduced to Luke Cage, or reintroduced to him, bringing him back, and fully debuting him into the MCU this time fully. And we could have gotten more from this. Um, but I honestly am gonna say, like, for what they gave, for everything that they wrote, I felt like it was an incredible season. And every single Marvel project is gonna have its flaws. They're all gonna have its problems. They're all gonna have its praises. They're all gonna have its middle ground. And it doesn't mean that these shows and movies are perfect. It just means that, we're human beings. We're going to be writing stuff and we're going to be loving it. And not everybody's going to love it. And that's what I totally realized for it. And I'm glad for those who have their different opinions. I like to know why you guys have different opinions. I like to know in your comments, when you guys talk about it. And speaking about comments, I know that I was going to read these off in the other previous videos, but you know what? I'm definitely going to read this now, especially off or av with Astro Noshim. He went and commented on the other 3 videos that we did. So,
Mhm.
and they did
Yeah, yeah, that's the
really
guy we're
great ones.
collabing with.
Oh, okay, nice. So, like, bro, so I'm gonna be reading his comment that he gave on these
Mhm.
past 3 videos, because this dude's incredible. I love the fact that he has some really good insights. So, shout out to you, bro. Just giving you a fair shout out right there, because you've been killing it out there. So, this was what he wrote 2 weeks ago on the season 2 episode 2 videos. He said, "Good evening, friends. Just to share some thoughts before we." I'm gonna have to mute that. Just family friendly. So sorry about that, bro. One thing about this episode that was kind of throwing me off was how everyone at the mayor's office kept worrying about the leak, but they didn't really show as much concern about finding out who's actually behind the mask impersonating Fisk. Then eventually it's revealed to be BB, and real ball knowledge predicted, and my wife did too. I honestly thought that they were going to reveal a new character, but given that it was BB, I felt like they could have just revealed it in the first episode. Also, I have to say, I don't think she's doing the deep voice herself. I think she's using one of those voice manipulating things to make her voice sound deeper, lol. On the AVTF, the main guy, Pal, I feel just literally most of the time is walking from place to place and then banging on doors. I feel like that's what his role has been for the majority of the show so far. But at this point of the show, I feel like they should have been in a fight between him and Daredevil, or him and Bullseye. By the middle of season 1 of the Netflix show, or maybe even earlier, Daredevil as the Man in Black was already going after and fighting Fisk's corrupt cops. And speaking of the AVTF, believe it or not, I've seen people say that they see absolutely no parallels between Ice in real life and the AVTF in the show. Honestly, you're just probably siding with the wrong side of history if that's how you see things. I've even seen people say that the real life mayor in New York City is worse than Mayor Kingpin in this is in the show. I'm wondering if I should say more, since 3 more episodes have already been aired since writing this comment, lol. But I guess I'll say that more than half the season over, and still we got no Brett. That is such a buzzkill. So this is an earlier one. Also, they hyped Jessica Jones up quite a bit too much from the trailers, and she's only been mentioned all the way in episode 1. It was cool to hear that Sister Maggie also got mentioned too, but she's also mentioned in season 1, lol. Anyway, I'll stop here. I'll be back for y'all's next dual reaction video. So that's what he commented on season 2, episode 2, which I could agree with them on a lot of these points. I could full fairly agree with them on a lot of these points. Let's see. On season 2, episodes 3, he says, at the 1713, 1946, and 2539 marks, he said, 3 for 3, maybe you should play the lottery. Insert the "That's So Raven" meme there. He said, "Don't take this the wrong way, but I'm just saying it's hard to comment on just episode 3, only since there almost a whole season is out by the time I'm writing this comment. I'll try to include events I haven't incurred yet. Through my own conversations with RBK, I made it quite clear that I don't like season 2. So just brace yourself, as I may be a little harsher with my takes. Let's go." In terms of realism, I think Born Again presents a lot of potential. The actual execution of the show is half baked all throughout the season. This one AVTF guy, Alan Saunders, along with so many other characters, were treated as pretty much as just a useful idiot. We literally don't see him again until the episode where it's time for him to. Nah, I'm not gonna go there, but like if they have to have that one good guy character in the AVTF, I figured he would get some development, but he didn't. Mostly he was just treated like as a plot device. I think I may have forgotten that Kristen and Heather were friends, and now that we have a whole 2 seasons of Heather's true colors, it's baffling to me how she would have been friends with her in the first place. But from season 1 onward, the same way I felt like Cherry replaced Brett for the worst in the story, entire time I felt Kirsten replaced Marcy in the story, and also for the worse. Oh yeah, I forgot about Marcy from season 1. I also gotta admit, all the court scenes thus far, since they're all pretty much just sham trials with Fisk strongholding them, it's practically just annoying at this point because I feel like we've seen all of this before in terms of Fisk going to prison, getting out of prison with more power, rinse and repeat. I remember RBK hitting me up to ask me how I felt about the one take fight scene, and just being honest, I really didn't care for it. And I can't agree that it was the coolest one take Marvel ever did. There's just so much of that episode leaves to be desired that for me. The segment in this episode was just straight up forgettable. Whatever motivation or operations at AVTF aren't really fleshed out, other than being Kingpin's evil fascist Gestapo, if that makes sense. Angela's development, similar to other characters, are so half baked. I know the character has potential, but she shows up only when they find her presence relevant. But it isn't enough in the show for me to connect with her development. Heather's another case of this. She was in this episode but absent in several of it. I think D'Onofrio was being hyperbolic when he says the iconic moment in season 3 was topped. Not even close. Nothing in Born Again ever comes close to the Netflix show. I myself got fond memories of watching Daredevil back in the day with my mom and my cousin. And yes, it is officially a continuation, but I don't think it honors the show. In fact, I think it does the opposite. Right from the ending of the first season with the flashback completely destroying Nadim's character arc, I just can't say I like any of the direction the show is taking either. I really don't want to be a hater. I want to love the show, but I just can't do it. I said this to RBK privately also, but these episodes just aren't enough to be worth the hype and wait from week to week. One friendly correction I want to make, although, is that Miss Marvel's Pakistani, not Indian. Oh, okay. So that was my mistake. So apologies on that one. Although I know that there's just a lot of overlap in those cultures, and I just want to top this comment off with the question of, what is this I'm hearing about RBK voicing Spider-Man and Daredevil?
Oh, I don't know. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, yeah. So yes, he is involved in the Marvel Lego YouTube universe. He is going to be voicing both Peter Parker and Matt Murdock. He is. I know that he's going to be doing an incredible job. So we will be co-writing um a special project that's revolved around Daredevil that we're going to be putting together. That's going to be one of the major things that we're going to be doing together. I'm not going to give away too much on what it is, but it's going to be very special. The Spider-Man ones, one of them has been fully written. He's and he looked over it. I believe, and there's another one that I finished writing that it's still in the rework process, but we're gonna look at it together, and same with the other actors who are gonna be involved. But yeah, he is going to be part of it, and it's gonna be incredible. I think he's gonna do an incredible job with it. And there's so much in in this whole thing. that it's going to be very amazing. I would definitely feel spectacular, even.
Oh, I like that.
And
That's a good one.
then the final comment, which was on season 2, episode four's reaction, he says, as of writing this comment tonight, like literally within 5 minutes before the season finale is going to premiere, but this might be the best episode of the season and one of the very few think I may have actually enjoyed. Anyway, as I continue for my transparency, I still got some harsh takes. ABTF doing whatever they wanted for practically the entire season has gotten kind of tiresome and annoying to watch. Yes, they taken L's with Bullseye straight up slaying them, but they move from scene to scene so much it's as if there wasn't much of an effect here. Like I would have wanted Powell or Kingpin shown to have been stressed out about the fact that they have to deal with Bullseye as another threat. I honestly wasn't expecting to get struck in the heart of Mr. Charles, but given how much he shows up and immediately backs him, knowing that he's into some shady stuff, I'm surprised Charles would underestimate him. And with Buck being the one to make those kills as an extension of the criticisms I've had, he doesn't do much substantial as far as the dirty work goes. It's just run of the mill top henchman stuff. All he's done, at least in this episode, is shoot some people, shoots another witness, which it just adds to the number of deaths that just didn't matter or are forgotten. It all just feels weightless. And what I would have wanted to see by now is him crossing paths and fighting either Daredevil or Bullseye. I don't think we'll get that at all in this season, which we didn't. In a sense, we didn't, but to some degree, we did. However,
Yeah.
I think that those flashbacks were great to see. I love Jack Murdoch's portrayal. Oh, Matt Murdock's portrayal in the original Netflix show. It was great, even for a split second, to see him again at the Fogwell Gym. It was cool to also see the young Matt Murdock actor. If you remember, the season finale of Born Again Season 1 had a flashback scene with a new young actor portraying Matt, and that always threw me off given how young Matt is in the Netflix show was kind of a recurring character, not just a version of him that showed up once. I'm not sure where the governor meeting with Vanessa was supposed to go, mostly because I couldn't even tell what the governor was trying to get at. It just felt like more pointless filler plot, to be honest. But speaking of Vanessa, man, the ending of this episode really took a turn I didn't expect. By the way, she is kind of arrogant if you think about it. The AVTF were trying to move her away from the scene, but she instead decided she could take Bullseye. And although she puts a bullet in him, she obviously loses. I think RBK is right. It's that she was going to die no matter what because that's just how perfectly calculative he is with his aim. As far as with the gym fight goes, I also think you guys are right in the Kingpin that he straight up killed his opponent and that there will just not be any public reaction to that nor any accountability on Kingpin because all that attention shifted to Vanessa. There's another death. One Kingpin was directly responsible for that just gets brushed under the rug. Anyway, I appreciate the shout out towards the end. I just want to point out though that when I say RBK, I'm talking about rule ball knowledge. Also, this is probably the last reaction video I'll get a chance to watch because wifey and I gotta get ready for vacation. Hope y'all enjoy the finale, fellas. We did. We did enjoy the finale. It was a really great finale, and I want to thank you so much, dude, for your comments. I'm actually glad that you did bring up those points because I didn't think about them until now. But you do make some valid points. I would love to get to if we ever get to do a collab video too on discussing about it. I think that would be a pretty cool thing on doing, just like on two dudes that one who loved it, one who didn't love the season, and getting to bring up their different points. I think that would be actually a great video to try doing.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what he wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's gonna be very interesting for sure to make such a video.